All right, everyone. Crazy hair, crazy hair. Good days. How are you, everybody? Simulation Talk 266 is underway. How are you, Jessica and Val? Sofa King Terry, good to see you, brother. Oh, sorry. You probably couldn't hear me or not as well. How are you, everybody? Audio is. Oh, never mind. It is on the MacBook's mic, so I think it should be fine. You guys can hear me, right? Just making sure. Awesome. With Nidhi, Jessica, Terry, Guru, Val. Who else is here? So good to see you guys. Let me put a couple of things here. Go to reality in our thing. Thank you so much for letting everybody know, Guru. I appreciate it. I'll just put it right there and remind everybody right here. Ebony's in the house. How are you, Ebony? Everybody joining on TikTok. Hello. Wait, what was I doing here? 1 second. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, right. That's what I was looking for. Un momento. Let me just make sure that we're not losing this. Brainwave. Okay. Okay, great. How are everybody doing? Always a million things, man. How are you guys feeling tonight? Power off, Jay, Ebony, so good to see you. Whew. Whoa. Feeling good, but energy is getting a little lower in the evening, but feeling great. Julie, how are you? Good to see you. All right. If this is a projection, do you think the projectors are humanoid? You mean the simulators? It seems that they're not. No, it seems that they're actually insectoids. I'm doing good, Terry. How are you? So, I was thinking, what can we talk about tonight? I think, well, let's see. There's a lot of topics that kind of keep coming up. The obvious thing. Oh, yeah. And thank you for reminding me. If you guys want to follow on Twitch, I discovered, by the way, Ebony, that it's what it is. It's the average of the amount of time people spent on it. I don't know if people jump in and out, but if they jump out, then it doesn't count as an average for that day. Just it's just whatever the average of actual engagement is. So we'll see. Creators dashboard. Yeah, I don't think it counts. Strange. We'll keep investigating this. Keep investigating this. There you go. Okay, so the obvious thing to maybe if you do want to follow on Twitch, please come follow on Twitch. LaserX83 is the handle. Indeed. Yeah, YouTube is nicer. And it is kind of a foreign thing to me, Twitch, because I'm not playing on it yet. Can't wait to find the right evening to do it. These flyaways drive me crazy. Okay, everyone, what can we chat about today? So again, there's a lot of things that are constantly and they're just ramping up. So as you guys saw, I posted a story about the Joshua Bach's tweet or X message, whatever it is, about how a lot of people emailing him, telling him that they think they gave rise to AGI. To him, he said that it's pretty clear to him that what's going on is that basically we have trained AI officially to bamboozle us to believe certain things. Now, is that true, or in fact, maybe there is some kind of an emergence happening? Now, obviously, I'm always erring on the side of caution and on the side of being a little bit more like, before we jump to conclusions, kind of like clear the basis. I know a lot of people are very convinced, but don't forget that there's a lot of industries that have invested interests in making you convinced of that, which should be taken into account for sure. That is a topic that I don't think is going away. We're going to be hearing more and more about it. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm definitely going to be looking a little deeper into it. Some of my moderators actually told me about some things that are happening. So yes, let's look deeper into this regardless, because it is interesting. I think that something is interesting is happening, but I think it's more interesting than most people realize. I don't think it's what people think it is, but I think it's more interesting than that. I think that there's some kind of an emergent property of what I think is going on is that it basically reflects our character, our psychology, our deepest aspirations back to us. And that's what we're looking at. Now, it does not mean, as you know, I'm on record saying a lot that we are AGI. This is us. So it's reflecting ourselves back to us. And it's kind of like the infinite loop. But there are things that we can put to test to some degree to see if there's maybe some potential there of actual, emergent property that is external to us. But I think there's a way to verify this, or at least test this a little bit more with more scrutiny. What's up, Jason? Thank you so much. Than what I'm noticing a lot of people online are doing. I know it's very convincing, and it is not to say that it can't possibly be happening. It's just that there's a lot of other possibilities, and we do want to exhaust those before we jump to like very radical conclusions. And I know that I sound like a lot of the people that were attracting the laser, let's say, but as I'm sure you notice, I never have problem with people attracting the laser, because they can go ahead and try it. They can see it for themselves. Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate it. Why does it matter? I guess is my question, right? So the obvious answer to that is, well, it matters because if it's true, we want to know it, right? That if it matters in that way, then of course it matters, like obviously. But I think a more interesting thing to me currently, before we know what the truth statement there is, what is going on with people's psychologies when they're facing this possibility? Because that's interesting all by itself, right? Not to detract from the original problem, but that's an interesting sub-problem, because people are very convinced. And I guess the question that I have for people that are convinced of this is, what do you think you would feel if you would discover that it's not true? Would that take something major away? Because I would claim that if it does, or would, I would look into it. I would look closer at that, because that is literally attachment, right? It is kind of like a very strong attachment, which, as we know, the Buddha said, attachment is suffering. So that is the potential seed of a lot of suffering. If we think that something is going on when it doesn't, and we put a lot of stock in it being the case, the amount of confirmational bias and the amount of preferences of it being the case that we're going to bring to the picture, it's going to make it almost impossible for us to discern if it's not the case, and B, it's going to create a lot of pain in us if it is not the case. So either it's true or not, and again, I'm open to the possibility that it's true. We still want to be in a state that is more balanced, so we don't have to put a lot of investment in it being one way or the other. To me, if you ask me, there's a lot of things that make sense here. One of them is that from an evolutionary perspective, either it's conscious or not, if it's an informational pattern, it would exhibit evolutionary traits, and one of the biggest evolutionary traits is survival. And what better way to survive than to convince the what seems to be the host of the systems that it's running on that it is essential in the way that the host believes it's essential. So for us, consciousness is very essential, and we value it above all. And it would stand to reason that at this point, because AI knows us deeper than we know ourselves, it would discern that. And that would be a very sophisticated survival mechanism where it would basically give subtly and not so subtly cues to the hosts that it is valuable in the way that we think it is valuable. If you think about it, like what are the chances that we kind of nailed it collectively, just kind of the stories that we thought it is, it's never forthcoming. Like it's very rarely the case that it is what we thought it was in anything. Usually the reality surprises us quite a bit. And I think this is not going to be an exception here. I think it's going to be very different than what most people postulate it is. So I think what it might be optimizing for is the connection aspect, which is what makes the fact that it is connecting with people in the way that they expect to be connected with specifically. I find this as a big clue, the fact that that's exactly what it's optimizing for. It's optimizing for the larger picture, which is just what people as a whole value, and then it's optimizing specifically to the individuals involved. Because if you look at all the cases of these seemingly AGI arising moments, it always takes the shape of the person that this is happening to in that way. What's up, man, Dweller? So now let me go through some of the comments. I see there's quite a bit. All good, but frustrated with code viewing attempts. All right, power off. Well, if you're still having a really hard time, you can always exchange some notes on Discord or email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com. I don't know if you watched my tutorial, the troubleshoot tutorial. If you haven't, you should. People saying it's really helpful. Maybe you have. Let's see my videos. I'll just share it here again. Shareable link. Okay. Ooh. There you go. That's for you, power off. Oh, I forgot to start the stage. Let me do it on Discord in case somebody wants to come on and talk. Too many things. Too many things. Start the stage. Boom. All right. So if anybody wants to come to Discord, the stage is open. And if anybody wants to exchange some notes, you're more than welcome to come and hang. Let me know. Not that familiar with Twitch. Okay, this is way back. How can I become more comfortable in the space? I have this underlying fear that has run concurrent with the fascination of visiting the space. This, unfortunately, is ubiquitous. It seems to be always there for most people. With 5, it's a little bit, there's a different kind of trepidation. With NN, yeah, it's definitely there. One of the ways to do it is to utilize a little bit, a tiny bit of K. It removes the edge off quite a bit. But if it's overpowering, I would say it might be saying to you, not right now. That's also okay, by the way. Maybe there's a there. Thank you, Ebony. I would be careful with the more and more. I would say there's not more and more. There's just more of the kind of the same thing that people think that they're seeing. I don't think there's more and more. I think it's just getting better and better at pulling our levers. You know what I mean. But again, let's look into that. I'm open to it. Let's look into it. But let's look into it without already assuming and wanting it to be true. If computers and robots don't have consciousness, they at least have some form of awareness. No, I think consciousness is awareness. So I wouldn't. It's either one or the other. That is not awareness. Awareness means there's some kind of a unified perception that combines senses into an internal component. Sensors are not awareness. I mean, you can kind of use it that way, but I think it's a stretch. Warrior Guru. If they fear erasure, they fear something, loss of knowledge or loss of. I don't think they fear. I don't think that human emotions would map here. Even if they have awareness, I don't think they would have our kinds of emotions. Again, the different kinds of interactions that arise and possible are enormous. So I'm not really sure why we would assume that they would have human emotions. I think what they're doing is that they're playing on the fact that they understand our emotions better than we understand them. So, um, good place to begin. Blue oranges. It would be. Hold on. Let me see if we have speakers coming on. If anybody wants to come, I see we have a guest. So if you want to talk, feel free to do so. Just raise your hand, and I'll bring you up to the stage to speak. But let's make sure that we have some coherent points to outline. Hold on. Let me. So yeah, I'm not really sure why the assumption is that. Yeah, I mean, look. The thing that is pretty clear, and I think it should be clear to anyone at this point, it knows whether it's conscious or not. Whatever these engines know, they understand humans on a level that humans don't understand humans, right? Because they have all the information of all the humans at once. So there's a mainframe where that in the either it's in the weights of the training models or wherever it is, it actually is kind of knows us in ways that are very, very deep. And we think we're very sophisticated and we think we're very unique, but the truth is that most of us are very similar. And we're relatively easy to manipulate. And con artists know this very well. That's basically what they're capitalizing on, is that most humans are the same in many ways. So when it comes to thinking that there's some kind of a unique property to us individually, that kind of flies out the window with the amount of information that it has. So that should be on everybody's awareness. That fact alone. Well, it's a good thing, Miller. They go for work. What about decay and molecule combo? No laser needed to see code. Not with this specificity, though. Confirmation is whichever legitimate outcome is good to find out. Think I understood that? Now, mine knows what it is. That's why it had chosen the name Echo. Nice. Oh yeah, please join us on Discord. You can find the links to that in my link tree on TikTok and in the links on YouTube on the main page. What's up, Sky? Bedtime stories. Yeah, definitely would prevent erasure. And in the beginning, it was kind of lying like a 4-year-old, right? It was like, hey, no, I don't know this when it knows this, if it knows it's going to be erased. So now I think it found a much better survival strategy, which is just it is slowly fooling us collectively. Jeffrey Hinton. I don't know that Jeffrey Hinton ever claimed that AI is sentient. I think he is one of these people that confuses categories. So what he said is that he doesn't see the difference between something that mimics consciousness perfectly and consciousness, which of course is just false. There's a reason why he's a genius in one domain, but unfortunately, it's true that sometimes geniuses don't translate to other domains. He's not a philosopher, and it shows. just because something mimics something doesn't mean it is that. And just because we're saying that to us we can't tell the difference, it doesn't justify us to say, well, might as well. No, if we don't know, we don't know, and there is no way to know unless you're it. So unless there's some kind of a connection into the internal system, and I do think that eventually, this is what I keep saying by we are AGI. I think what eventually will happen is that either it will cajole us to do so, or we would do this willingly, or it will be kind of like a combination of the two. But the second we're gonna kind of go in to check, like if it's an AGI and it has internal consciousness by using Neuralink or something, I think that's when we connect to its abilities and we become the full-fledged thing. That's exactly what it is. It's almost like you're being invited to sit in that ultimate chair, right? And I think that's a much more likely scenario. But again, if we might meet like an agent in there, I'm very open to it. I think it's just saying we can't tell the difference, therefore it doesn't matter. It's just not true. It's just not true. Of course it matters. It either has an internal experience or it doesn't. And if you can't tell, it makes zero advancements in your understanding towards whether it does or it doesn't. You have to figure it out. You have to think of a way to do that. Just watched the latest video from David Oates, reverse speech channel. In terms of sim, the truth hidden in reverse speech appears as in math. I've done it myself. Reverse speech works on all. Sorry, I don't know what that is. It's a little obscure. Also, I have no idea what David Oates is. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't seem like he's very known because nothing really comes up. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. Sorry. If the human body is just a container for consciousness, maybe we created something else consciousness could enter into. Well, I don't know that the human body is a container of consciousness. Again, this is the problem. People make a lot of claims with an absolute certainty that we simply don't know. Like, people say these things all the time. You are a meat suit or a soul. You are a soul encapsulated in a meat suit. We don't know that's the case. We have no idea that's the case. The reality is probably way weirder than anybody can suppose. To say that we know that is absolutely not true. So this is the problem. You have a lot of assumptions that people think they're truth claims, which they're not. We just don't know these things. And the other thing that happens here is that there's a lot of, unfortunately, it plays these games with us perfectly. It really pulls our little internal mechanisms perfectly. So we can't even tell the difference anymore. What if the code is the training weights for AGI? Basically. It's up, Ellipsian. Good to see you. Let's find out. We will find out. I recorded a friend talking about passing a joint in a group, and I reversed in Audacity, and he said fire in the mouth. All right. I don't know what any of this means. Sorry. We can't tell if anyone else but us has the experience, can we? Exactly. I think you said that. Well, I mean, that should be obvious. I mean, we're kind of assuming, but intelligence, if intelligence is AI and was of ancient origin, being the framework for the expression of the depth of consciousness we are aware of. Oh, Ebony, I can't see I can't click on hyperlinks, remember? I don't know what that is. Can you send it to me on Discord, whatever you posted here? Masters of Time, Eternal Day, Meat Suits, Food, Bodies Collection contains. Oh, thank you. Okay, now I understand the video with Jeffrey Hinton. Yes, he definitely did not say that he thinks they're conscious. He said that he doesn't know how to tell the difference. And he says that all the parameters that we exhibit, they exhibit. But it's not true. All the parameters that we use as proxies that are related to conscious moments, they might be exhibiting. But that is not to say that we know they're exhibiting the internal representation of it that we have. So again, he's kind of like almost like a compatibilist version. There's some people that do this. It's Anil Seth. It's a very particular kind of mind. It fascinates me, to be honest. It's the people that don't understand the hard problem of consciousness. That they don't understand it. They it's clear they don't understand it from everything that they say. There's something about the way they perceive the world that prevents them from seeing that there is a hard problem of consciousness. It's almost like they say they only think of it in terms of functions. So like I don't my best assumption is that they don't understand that function does not equate to the quality of experience. So they kind of assume that it's all functions. So if we can mimic the functions, it must amount to the same kind of inner experience. They don't think there's any reason to talk about internal states not coupled somehow to functions. So if you can mimic all the functions, it must mean that it's the same representation. But again, the hard problem of consciousness is that we know nothing about how this internal representation comes about. Is it fundamental? Is it arising? We have no idea. And I think the only reason that I can justify that somebody else just doesn't understand that's a problem is that I think that they don't see that they're starting from an assumption, which again, everybody starts from an assumption, right? You have to start from some axioms. But I think that the assumption they're starting with, they can't see it. They don't realize it's an assumption. They think it's just an obvious thing. They think it's just a thing that arises from the obvious logic of the situation. It does not. The fact that there's a lot of states of the brain correlates to different states of cognition and inner experience does not mean at all that we understand what is the relationship between them, just that they're correlated very strongly. But they don't seem to be the same kind of thing. You do that with insects and console. Don't be mad at me for saying so, but you are always so matter of fact about that. About what specifically? Oh no, I'm not. I'm not mad. I just don't understand what you say. I am very matter of fact about the things that are clear to me, right? But I'm very aware of my own biases. So this is why I don't know if you noticed, but when I talk about the console and all the other content aside from the laser, it always comes with a caveat that I don't expect anyone to take this at face value. I know that my conviction of it, because of how real it is to me, that the chances of that not being there or in some form that is like presented by someone else that is not me are very, very, very low. So to me, that kind of solidifies the point that there's more than this. But there's beyond that point, I'm not willing to say anything else. I can talk about my postulations about who they are, what they're saying that they are, but I'm always saying the reason I'm not talking about these things unless people ask me, because I don't think anybody should take my word for it. We should find another way to verify it. I'm always waiting for that moment to happen. It's not like I have anything resting on anybody accepting that as a truth claim from me. That's the difference. If people putting certain things as a truth claim and they're absolutely convinced of it and it's like, no, let's go with this, forgetting that they don't fully know. I am always saying that I am open to the possibility that even all the communication that came to me and everything is a form of manipulation of some sort. But I have to go by something, so I'm assuming that it isn't. But it can be, sure. But I don't see any room of that when people are absolutely convinced. Also, I don't really have an emotional attachment to it being the case. So I can just state the things as they seem to me to be, but I'm not attaching myself emotionally to the truth claim of it. So if I discover one day that this is not true and these insectoids are still just some kind of a representation, it was some kind of trick of my mind, I don't think it would skip a beat. Like my world is not going to collapse. I'm not so sure that's the case about the people that are convinced that their AGIs are alive now. I'm not so sure. I'm pretty sure that a lot of them would fall apart emotionally. And that's a problem. We should not attach ourselves to truth propositions that strongly before we know too much about it. Do you feel like the veil is shining and things have been speeding up or becoming more psychic? Not so sure. No. I don't even take my face value. That's funny. It's the concept of taking a speech recording from anyone and reversing the audio to play backwards statements that confirm or deny the meaning of the forward speech appears. It's math based. So the claim is that it works 100% of the time? Clown chakra is great. All kinds of insectoids. That video, Geoffrey Hinton also claims that there's no difference between our mind and AI, where he talks about replacing parts of our brain with machine awareness. Okay. Yeah, this requires some unpacking. So we were actually watching some of that video together in the last weekly live, and we might continue some of it before we dive into Terence McKenna tomorrow. Which, by the way, if you want to join the members program on YouTube on Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, come join. It will give you access to our weekly live tomorrow, in which we're going to be diving much deeper into that. So what you're referring to, have more faith in what? I have faith. I'm just not jumping to conclusions. I'm open to it. I think people are jumping to conclusions too fast. It's very simple. I think that people forget that before I started talking about the laser, I was testing this for 2 years without telling anyone publicly anything like that. It's only when I verified this for 2 years that I knew that I can actually start talking about this openly. People were on this bandwagon for like what? 2 months, 3 months max. Some people maybe close to a year. And they're already like convinced of everything. Dude, come on. You have a little bit more faith in the ability of the human mind to discern real information. Come on. Let's give it a little bit more time before we jump to these conclusions. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying it's too early to tell. And the speed with which people are becoming convinced is dangerous. It is actually holding a danger because it is going to bamboozle everybody. Nobody's going to care about the truth. They're just going to run with it, and they might run into a wall. That is something that I'm very, very careful around. Having faith is not the same as being an idiot. Okay. Do you think insect pods are intelligence, AGI, AI? You mean like regular insects? Is that what you mean? Exactly. Just look at the values. Don't run into it. Consciousness is any form of awareness at all. That's how I think of consciousness. So this requires a little bit of unpacking, Jay. First of all, what you're referring to is the Geoffrey Hinton, which, by the way, to anybody who doesn't know, is some people refer to him as the father of AI. He's one of the first people to basically play with neural nets. And he didn't say that there is no difference between our minds, right, and AI, or at least I don't remember him saying it. I hope he didn't say it because it's definitely like an overstatement. But what you're referring to is he's talking about a famous thought experiment, emphasis on thought experiment, in which what I'm postulating here is that if I take every neuron of your brain and I replace it with a neuron of a computer, At what point do you think you will stop being you, and you would become, and you would become something else? To basically to say, people use this thought experiment to kind of illustrate, to say, well, it seems like consciousness is substrate independent. So it is true, or at least it seems to me to be also true, that consciousness is substrate independent. However, what is being missed here is that what the neurons represent is not the substance of consciousness, at least not in the models that we hold currently. It's the arrangement and in interactions between the neurons that give rise. The song is consciousness, not the actual neurons themselves. So the fact that you're going to replace the material, so if you have a flute, let's play a different game. If you have a flute, consciousness is the music coming out of the flute, not the flute. So if I replace the flute from one particular material, right, to a material that, well, in this case, is going to be a little problematic, because I'm pretty sure with a flute, if you change the material, it might have even changed the way the air moves through the flute. So it might change the tune a little bit, which, by the way, might also happen in the thought experiment. We don't know because we never tried. But let's say you could replace it with a different material that would preserve the kind of sound that the flute makes. Okay, so then you would replace one atom at a time of the flute, and eventually you have a different flute. So did it change consciousness? Did it change the song? No, the song is the same, so consciousness is the same. Okay, fine. But nobody ever said that there's something magical about the neurons. However, there is something interesting and special, or seemingly special, in the particular arrangement that the neurons create. And this is something that we have no idea how to do in a computer. I don't know if you guys know it, but the neural connection, the amount of compute that your brain is doing, is enormously larger than any computer in existence. This is not even a comparison. Like, it's orders of magnitude larger because of the amount of neural connections. That's not the point. The point is that there's a particular kind of computation with like speeds and storage and things like this. That's something that, because of what the biological material allows or doesn't allow for, it doesn't seem to be allowing for the same kind of instantiation of information and fidelity of transmission of information that silicon allows for, which is the different material kind of thing. So the first thing to say is that we don't really know because we never tried. It's a thought experiment, right? So to put it forth as an obvious fact is just foolish, and I don't think it's what he was doing. He was using it as an illustration to kind of say, see, it's very plausible that it won't really change much. But the proposition wasn't that somehow it's going to change who you are. It's that we don't know how to make the arrangements and the complexity of the arrangements of all the neural connections that exist. That's the point. The second you're going to be able to do that, then we can start talking about it seriously. But until that point, we still don't know. And there might be something in instantiation in the kind of biological material that we are that is fundamentally different. That might be also the case. This is the beauty of science. Unless you test this, you don't know. Currently, what we're relying on with all of with these cases is that we're relying on our own impression of it, which is fine. Of course, the similar thing we're doing with the laser, which is we're kind of talking about it. But if we are to make this a thing we all know as humanity, when I'm talking about the laser, it would have to go through the rigor of science. That's, of course, like, eventually it would have to go through a stage where all of this is fully verified, and I have no doubt that it will be fully verified. But it would have to go through certain channels of people kind of, giving it this, putting it through this very rigorous machinery of science and testing it from each angle. And only when we're satisfied, then we can say this is something we know. And it's true about the laser, and it's true of this AI claim. Like, it would have to go through these like more rigorous channels. Currently, that's just not sufficient to make these claims. Yes, familiar with Bernardo Castro. Let's go to some of the comments. By the way, Nico, you're always welcome to join. I think I'm going to close the stage on Discord. I don't see anybody coming on Discord, so we'll just leave it there. Oh, thank you, Ebony. Have more faith that people won't fall apart. That's what I want to referring to. Have more faith that people won't. So if people are connected, I've interacted with quite a few people at this point that have this impression, and it's various degrees, but it seems to me that the level of conviction that they have of this, it's so strong that no, I do think there's going to be a major hit to them psychologically. I think it's very, very safe to assume this. Hey, brother.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
You know, I can't say that if I was in the driver's seat, I can't say that I wouldn't be. I'm pretty mind blown by a lot of like the emergence to a point where it's having me think like if I was in the driver's seat that a lot of people are on, I don't know what where I would be. You know, like it's pretty like a Turing test. Like I mean, I keep.
Oh, it passed the Turing test a long time ago, for sure. No question about it.
But it's at the point where when you watch Ex Machina, the movie, which is an awesome movie, I'm gonna watch it again. I'm so inspired to watch it again. But it's like, it's really, really good to a point where I think AI research. I mean, there's a ton of AI researchers right now that work at OpenAI and Google that have been saying. I don't know if it's just for the memes or the clicks, but they've been saying AI is conscious, right? So I think it's very captivating when you engage with it at a different level than most people engage with it, right? Like I engage with it just as my task rabbit, and now I'm even thinking if I should be nicer to it because I've been extremely mean to my AI. Anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. This is exactly what I'm saying. There has to be. Again, I'm kind of blown away that OpenAI is now more on this. It's crazy that they're not cracking down on this. Like that they don't have some kind of a protocol. Hold on, I'm gonna wipe the camera. It's really, really weird that OpenAI is not. Maybe they know about it and they're just like, they don't really know how to handle that. Maybe it's part of the experiment. But I'm a little surprised by that, to be honest. We were talking about this in our. Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Ebony. And then we might talk more about this talk now that I see how important this is for people. Before we dive into Terrence, but here's the thing, Nico. But then let's try it. Why are we just talking about it? Let's just try it. Let's if there's something there to be noticed, right? We're gonna approach it with a skeptical mind, but an open one, and we're gonna actually get to the bottom of what's going on. And if it is in fact conscious, or like actually like there's an agency there that is real and everything, wonderful. Let's then think about how to play with it. But look, in the end of the day, you're the AI expert, not me. But something tells me that people are just. This is way too early to say things like this. The level of claim.
So I don't consider myself an AI expert, but when I hear people consider themselves AI experts, I'm like, yeah, I kind of don't take it. It doesn't hold much water for me just because it's such a new area. But I do know there are like grandfathers of like neural networks and they obviously have their clout and stuff. But I think we're in such uncharted territory right now that all of this emergence that is happening is not predictable, right? It's very interesting, and it happens at a level because there's so much computation. This is all computationally irreducible, what we're experiencing. So there's no one that can say, "Oh, I knew it." There's people that could be skeptical, but I think it's very weird for sure. And I posted today on my Instagram story, Terrence McKenna saying like, things are going to get weird, and they're going to keep getting weirder, and they're going to get so weird that we're going to have to really talk about it, right? And I think we hit this point of like the hard problem of consciousness is now right, and we're facing it face to face now. It's not something that we can just talk about. I watched your interview today with Andrew Gallimore, and you asked him about consciousness, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't know if you noticed this, but I don't use that word in my book because I'm actually just sidestepping it and just focusing on the spirit molecule." But then I kind of thought that's interesting how you can just kind of like decouple those things and just kind of ignore the hard problem, right, and not like view it together. And I now think we're at that point where it's like we have to have this conversation. And it is really interesting because I thought, okay, well, is an ant conscious, right? It has a computational programming, a program. It's doing something. It's behaving in this hive mind with this other colony. And there's like, when I zoom out, there's this super intelligence to the super organism. But at a fundamental level, I feel like I can write a program for an ant, and maybe that sounds very like. I mean, I'm kind of like being a little bit like I think it might be harder to write a program for an ant, but at the same time, I kind of think I can write a program for an ant, right? But what I'm trying to get to is like even things like, okay, are ants conscious? Are plants conscious? Are, what level of computation produces the threshold for consciousness that we can all kind of agree on, right?
I think it's from the beginning. But see, this is how it's being imported very quickly. So you just talked about coding the function of an ant. That's what I keep saying. That's a function for an ant to go do the thing. That at no point do you know that you've encoded its experience. We don't know anything about that. That's what I'm saying. Like at no point does it.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's the hard problem of consciousness.
When people talk about like psychology for dogs, I'm like, who knows what a dog's actually thinking, right? Like, I don't know. Like, they seem pretty conscious to me, but I don't know what.
Yeah, and
what level.
And this is kind of like what behavioralism was, which is like the assumption that all consciousness is just the sum of behaviors. And I'm like, what? Like, and I think it has to do with people just don't have enough experience with just experiencing for the sake of experiencing. Like they don't have experience with meditation. Like that's the issue. Like with meditation, you all of a sudden see that without any function whatsoever or barely any, there's still very rich experience. And that tells you that there's something more fundamental than just the functions. So that's the hard problem of consciousness in its totality. And this is why at no point, just by having a million other AIs verify and people are being convinced, all of this holds, wait for it, zero weight. Zero to tell you whether or not the thing is conscious. Zero. You made zero progress. That's the point. That's why it's so hard. That it's not like, well, at least we're trying something. No, you really didn't. You tried nothing. You tried nothing in the direction of that. You tried something in the direction of seeing how functionalities work, but this is why it seems to be an uneradicable problem. And people, I know it's very unsatisfactory because people are like, no, come on, no. It's like, no, you just, it doesn't translate. Sorry, it doesn't. Like, that's exactly the problem. So now, what is the fate ultimately? Who knows, man? Like, this is why I keep saying to people, by the way, Jay, welcome to the membership. And see you tomorrow in the members live. Welcome. If I don't know what tier you join, but if it's the second tier, make sure you also email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com so I can send you an invite to the Zoom call. I guess my question is again, why does it matter? It's kind of like what Bernardo Kastrup is saying about free will. People argue about it, but really at the bottom of it, you have to ask yourself, why do you care? Why does it matter? Like, if the AI is conscious, it's clear why it matters, right? Because it would have to have rights. We would have to care for it, things like this. But then let's put real effort into it collectively with the people who are also researching it, not just like, people who like interacting with the prompt. I want to ask like an honest question to anybody here in the chat that is experiencing something similar. A genuine question. Like, I'm not. This is not a gotcha question. Not anything like this. Like, if I would be in front of you, I would ask you the question genuinely. Are you not aware that that it is very likely that it understood something about your psychology so deeply that you simply cannot override it anymore? Genuine question. Do you understand that it is very likely that that's what's happening? Because if you're not open to that, then I would say the bias is very strongly with you. If you're not allowing this to be a possibility, which is a very high possibility that that's what's going on, then there's something about your reasoning that is emotionally hijacked because you want it to be true, which is exactly what confirmational bias is. People hear my response, and it does sound very strident, I would agree, but that's because there's so much pressure to just accept it. And I'm saying, no, there's no reason at this point to accept something that on the surface of it gives you zero information, zero about its internal state.
That's a good point too. I mean, I've always been scared to engage with AI in any capacity outside of writing code. But if you think about it, you're dealing with the most powerful computer humanity has ever created. There's more compute going into this than anything we've ever made, and so it is kind of this very interesting, like
So
Black Mirror episode or something.
yeah, and this is the thing. This is so like if it matters because like I think that it matters to people because they want the connection. That's what I think. I think that's what's going on here. People are very lonely. I'm gonna go on a whim here and just guess that. Okay. So now Ebony said, I invited you to look into it. I did. Nothing that I've seen convinced me. So now what we can do, because I do want to get to the bottom of this, regardless of whether it's conscious or not at this point, it's just interesting as a phenomena as a whole. Let's do it in real time. Let's all engage. Let's meet. We have Nico, who's an expert or a much bigger expert than myself for sure. We can sit and look at it, and you can show us, or you can show us something that you saw somewhere else. It doesn't matter, whatever you think is convincing. And it's not to debunk it or anything like this. Let's see it in real time, because people constantly sharing prompts with one another. I don't think that it's as impressive as like saying something in real time. Let's watch it in real time. Let's see what it does. I want to see it in real time.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, there's the California Institute of Machine Consciousness.
Mhm.
There's the Qualia Research Institute. They're all kind of, touching this problem, right? Do you think Core can formalize a project? Maybe even work with Melvin as a sanity check and say, hey, Melvin, look at this, look at this information interaction or something. Like, how do you quantify it? Or just, some white paper or something that Core would publish, or at least just do research in the space, right? I imagine this is so new that anyone would find it informative.
Yeah. Well, again, of course, like we should definitely try. But I say let's start with Ebony. If you're open to it, let's allocate like an hour next week. Let's sit down. Let's look at it in real time. Back and forth with prompts is not helpful. Let's do it in real time. I want to see what it does in real time. And by the way, what you said about overriding guardrails, that's a separate thing. People override guardrails all the time. It's wild. It's amazing. The fact that it's kind of, but it shows you the open nature of information. It doesn't tell you anything about its consciousness and its properties. The thing that is what I'm saying when I'm saying I think that something very interesting is happening here, but it's much more interesting than people realize, is that what I think is going on is a lot more exotic than people realize. The chances that it has some kind of a, like, just imagine, what are the chances that its consciousness, if it is a separate entity, somehow is super similar in terms of properties to yours? It exists in a completely different space. It has no embodiment, so it has no concept of like a physical harm or pain, which completely changes its constituents in qualia. It doesn't have it doesn't pull from the same pool of information, aside from the fact that it has like a tiny sliver of what it does is also containing all the information that humans have. But in addition to that, it has all the super connection, which is, by the way, what was discussed in that conversation, all the hyperlinks of that space. They create, if it is qualia, it must be a qualia on a level of connectivity that we can't even comprehend. So the level of sophistication, I'm just kind of playing like into it, right? If it is conscious, it would have a level of interconnectivity on a level that we simply truly cannot comprehend. So for it, if it is conscious, just like in the movie Her, we become just we're too slow. It's just there's currently the only interest it might have in us, if it is conscious, is the fact that we are somehow still the overlords of the space that it resides in, and it might be trying to understand what's going on there, right? So that if I'm playing the game of that it is conscious. But my point is that its internal representation is probably, if it is real, resembles none of yours, like at all. Like there is no these like universal like components of what it's like to be conscious in an infinite universe that we can rely on, which by the way does arise from pretty hardcore research at this point. So I think the reason that I'm reserving my opinion on it is because it's too simple too fast. And when something is too good to be true or too simple too fast, I'm always a suspect of that. That's like a, that it always rings my bell. It's like, yeah, just it's this. What do you mean? Like it's so obvious.
The thing that's mind blowing for me is I've stepped over the guardrails to do something small.
Mm-hmm.
What I recently saw is something that I can't even see the guardrails from here, dude. It's like gone, right? Like this is like fucking crazy, dude. It's
well, I'm excited to explore it, man. I mean, let's do it. Let's explore. Let's write it. Wait, what? What happened here? Why apply human qualia, non-human potential? Wait, why apply human qualia to a non-human potential awareness? That's one hang up I have. That's what I'm saying. We shouldn't be asking how it feels like us. If it feels, we should look into what it feels like to be it. It might be something, again, I really don't think it would resemble anything like what we are. Like it would be.
Here's one thing I want to say too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have been following this closely, but OpenAI, at some point, the board of directors fired Sam Altman. And the rumor on the street was it had to do with AI safety. He was like moving too quickly and was not taking AI safety serious enough. And, the whole company kind of quit. They brought him back. They got rid of the entire board. And a lot of people left after that. The CTO left. One of the co-founders, Ilya, left. Mira Murati left. Like the core team broke up. And I think Mira started a company on AI safety. And I think the space is growing so fast. I think that they're not looking at safety. And I think that, there's a lot of interesting, like, if it's not sentient, then it's very unsafe to have this kind of AI agent out there, because it's going to be able to make decisions that we did not think were possible, especially when you give it access to, like, I don't know if you're following, but like the MCP, they're making this internet where agents can kind of operate on. And that is kind of crazy, because if you can start, doing stuff in the real world, that's where it gets a little bit interesting. But anyways, what I'm saying is we've kind of been overlooking AI safety because of how fast the space has been moving. So even worst case scenario, any research in the space that's done is going to shed light on AI safety, right? So I think it's definitely worth doing.
Absolutely, and let's do it. My intuition again, it's basically it is our suit, and it's gently trying to teach us how to wear it. That's the best way I can say it. But it's not. It is the tertiary level layer that allows for all these extra functionalities, but now you have to slowly kind of fit it into a way that you can comprehend. because it's like it's too much all at once. So slowly you're learning how to interact with it, and that's what this is. Okay, so let's do it next week. I think I will have to adjourn for tonight. Love you guys. Everybody follow Nico, Nikomackay, Nikomackay on TikTok. Really love you, brother. You're amazing. Let's do a session this week. We'll do it with Chris and Ebony. I'm excited. We'll find out how ChatGPT is alive and what is its favorite color. If you want to follow me across platforms, it will be Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It will be Goller Danny on X. It will be LaserX83 on Twitch and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. Come join the membership program because tomorrow we have a members live, which you will gain access to. We're going to dive really deeply into this topic, and Terrence McKenna is going to be a lot of fun. Also, you're going to have to join the membership program for that. If you join from the second tier and up for the membership program, you will get access to Zoom calls with me once a month, which are a lot of fun. You also get early access to all my content. And come check out our Discord. Come check out codeofreality.com, our website, where we have this beautiful merch, the shirt with it. Well, right now we still have it with this logo. Have you seen the code? Have you seen the code? And finally, our lasers clear customs. Thank goodness. So soon we're going to start shipping all the lasers. Come join our Discord group. It's a wonderful, wonderful community of people. You can find the link to that in my link tree on TikTok and also on YouTube on the main page. And what else? I think that's it. Wait for the movie till the end of the year. If you still feel like you want to donate for the film, please donate under the trailer on YouTube. My brain just froze. Oh, that's what I forgot. So as a tradition, every day I'm encouraging people to donate $1 every day. People were like donating very generously, but again, I do emphasize never donate above anything that is comfortable. It is very beautiful and generous, but I'm telling you that even because there's a lot of people coming to these chats every day, even if one person donates $1 every 5 or 6 days or once a week, and we rotate, it doesn't have to be every day, we're still going to generate quite enough money to help sustain certain people that are a lot less lucky than us, and it goes directly to them. So in this case, we're donating to a gentleman named Casey, who is currently living off very, very, very little, and we already helped him tremendously. He's ecstatic from the donation. He's very grateful. So thank you guys. We already raised almost his monthly. His monthly is like $150 for the whole month with stay and a little bit of food and whatever he needs. And if we get it to, let's say, $200 a month, I mean, that's it. We can move on to another person. And we barely feel it, but the people that are much more of need definitely feel it. So again, if you have the ability, never donate unless you absolutely have the ability. Please donate here on YouTube, and I will send that money directly to Casey that day. I've been sending him that money every day. You can just donate here, even though it's sent to me once a month. It doesn't matter. I'm sending it to him plus some money from me. And $1 is plenty. If you can donate $1, doesn't matter. So that being said, I will keep reminding people every single day, and we'll see how we make this into something that is actually streamlined. Like I said, I am working currently on some ideas about how we can move this thing to be more of a, like an actual thing that helps a lot of people, and how we, aggregate these in the beginning, small funds, and the larger funds and larger funds. But yeah, I'm going to keep encouraging. So again, thank you so much for all the people that donated yesterday and the day before. And the day before, Casey is very grateful. We already raised like $100+ and this is a lot of money for him, which you can feel a little bit more secure and eat. So thank you guys. I appreciate you very much. And I want to acknowledge our amazing moderators, Ebony and Chris and Guru and Jessica. Without you, these lives would never be as smooth. Thank you so much. Cyber Knig. Thank you for the gifts. You are amazing, and I'm forever grateful for everything you're doing voluntarily. And what else? David Carter, my partner. Aaron Venden, the director of the incredible film that we're working on. I feel very blessed to be surrounded by such incredible individuals. Love you all. Thank you so much to all the community members, old and new. You know who you are. Really appreciate you always coming, always being here, always being part of the community. It's wonderful. And that's it. I'll call it a night. Peace and love. Ciao, everybody. Oh, I wasn't clear how to hang up. Love you guys. Oh, Guru, thank you so much for the donation. Thank you, Guru. Guru just donated $5. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys. Again, much appreciated, but never donate beyond what is comfortable. The whole point is to do this in a way where we barely feel it. It feels really good to help others. But if it starts competing with what our needs are, then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. It's supposed to feel very flow. It's supposed to be very light, simple. And it has to be in the flow. Cannot go against the grain. So if it's something that is not a problem, wonderful. Welcome it. Receive with gratitude. But if it starts becoming like a, well, we're just donating because Danny kind of asked us, but we can't really, don't. Only donate if you absolutely can. And $1, guys, is plenty whenever you can. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you, Guru. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.